Start that. All right, all good. Welcome everybody. This is week number 11, I believe, of our 90-day burst call. So this is the place to come and get inspired, motivated, learn some of the tricks, not tricks, but some of the secrets to success of making your business propel, creating momentum in your business. And I'd like to just start off by welcoming our panelists. We've got the panelists who are silver level and above associates. So we've got, to start with, we've got Daya in Noosa, Australia. Welcome, Daya. We've got Mr. John Allen calling from Sydney, Australia area. Hello, Alan Fitzgerald is from Toowoomba. We've also got Mel Croucher. And Tom, I believe, is off on, he sends his apologies. He's off moving and shaking and having meetings and doing all kinds of great stuff. So welcome, Mel. We got Mr. Stevie Aquilina. Welcome to call Stevie from Sydney. And also Carmel Scaringi is welcome to the call as well. Our special guest that we've got today for Teach Day is from the Triple Diamond Network. One of the most inspiring teachers and trainers is Mr. John Bash. So John calling in from the United States, and Melissa and I are also in the United States, calling in from two different places. She's in Midway, Utah, and I'm in Logan, Utah, where I grew up. So just so having some fun before we head off to the Diamond Summit here in just a few days, joining the other diamonds for a little fun. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you, Melissa.
Sure. So what I'd like to do is start off by introducing John to come and do his part. We're so very, very, very fortunate to have John join us on these webinars, because we always really enjoy what he has to say. And before I do that, I want to welcome all of the participants to the webinar as well. This is a 90-day burst, as you know. It's a huge commitment. We only have 3 weeks left to go. Even though this is week 11, we have three more to go. So I'll make the announcement up front. We won't have a 90-day burst next weekend or next Friday US, Saturday in the States, because it's after 10 p.m. in Hawaii. And the idea is to get all the diamonds on the line, and at that time of night, I'm not sure how coherent or willing they'll be to jump on. So not next week. But John Bash, thank you so much for joining us. As Bart mentioned, it's Teach for Teach Day. We'd love to hear your words of wisdom, and I love your shirt.
Okay, well, it's interesting because when you and I communicated through email, and you said it was Teach Day, so basically pick a topic. And I've been thinking about that since that email, and sort of this morning when I woke up, I kind of decided that I would go in a little different direction than I've done in the past, because I think that I'm going to kind of reach back into my own experience in the network marketing industry and try to share what I think it is that gets in the way of all of us for the success that we seek. Because success is it's a journey. It's not the destination. And I think too many of us get wrapped up in our own self, and we usually get ourselves in the way. So if you're okay with that, I want to kind of move in that direction.
Perfect.
I want to start with a story that I used to tell a lot, and I'm sure many of you have already heard it. But the story is important because it's going to play a role in what I want to talk about today. And the story was about an old Cherokee Indian who was teaching his grandson about life, and they were sitting around the fire, outside between the teepees. And as they were sitting there, he turned to his grandson and he said, there's a fight that's going on inside of me. And it's a terrible fight, and it's one between two wolves. One is an evil, angry, envious, sorrowful, regretful, greed, arrogant, full of self-pity, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, superiority, and a huge ego. And he continued on and he said, and the other one is good. He is full of joy and peace and love, hope, humility, kindness, and faith. And the same fight, he said, is going on inside of you, my son. And it's also the same fight that's going on inside of everyone. And the grandson thought about it for a moment, and he turned to his grandfather and he said, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" And the old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." And, you know, I like to share that story because I think it's going to be very applicable to what I wanted to talk about today. And because I'm going back to when I started in the field of network marketing. So I know the challenges I had, and I know the things I had to overcome. I was full of energy, obviously, because I was only 20 years old, but I still had this thing going on inside of me. And it's the same one, I think, from that story that I'm going to try to help people understand what is it that keeps them from the top levels of success that they really are searching for. And as an example, has anyone out there ever really found themselves late in the evening sitting down with a tablet in front of them, and then they write down on the tablet all the people they're going to call the next day? They make this list, and their mind is full of all these positive thoughts. The thoughts of, oh, I'm going to get so-and-so, and I'm going to reach out to them, and man, that would make my business just fantastic. And these positive thoughts are just rushing through their mind. And then what happens is they wake up the next morning, and something different happens. When it's time to get up, and they get up to start their day, what happens is they get up and they're, let's say, like going back for me back in the day, I had to go from, my office was in my bedroom at that point in time because I had an apartment when I first started. So I had to get up, just go wash my face off, and then go sit down at the desk with a little box full of 3x5 cards with the names of the people I was going to call. And as I would get ready to sit down, a little voice inside of my head would say, "Hey, you know what? Let's go get a cup of coffee because a cup of coffee will really get you going, make you feel better." So I'd get up and I'd go get that cup of coffee. And then when you come back and sit down, and many of you, I hope, as you're listening to this, I hope it'll apply to you. You come back and you sit down from that cup of coffee, and then the first thing that pops into your head is, there's probably some folks out there that are probably reaching out to me in email, so I better check my emails. And they jump into their email program and they start looking through emails, answering emails, doing whatever. And before they know it, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And they kind of feel like, hey, that's all right. I got my morning started off right. I'm going to make those calls today because those people are out there that I know are going to be great for my business. So let me go get a bottle of water. And they get up and they get the bottle of water, and then they sit down and they look at their list. And the person at the top of the list is named Steve. And they say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to give Steve a call. And then they look up at the clock and they go, oh gosh, it's 11:30. Steve's probably going to lunch right now. And so it's probably not a good time to reach out to him. So, I think because, he only gets a half an hour, and that voice is instructing all these things. They're hearing that voice as they go. And I know it was one that I fought diligently. It took me a long time to figure out what was going on inside of my mind. But what happens then is they sit there and they think of reasons why the few people that are on their list. The next one that comes down is Bill. He gets home around 3:30, so I'll just wait and I'll call him at 3:30. And then Mark. Right now, Mark is he's already had lunch. So gosh, let's see. He's back in his job, and I can't interrupt him right now. So I'll give him a call late this afternoon. And those thoughts are rushing through our head, those ideas, if you will. And I want to back up and not really call them a thought. They're more of an idea. It's an idea that comes to us. This little voice is talking to us that says basically, hey, John, it's not a good time to call him. You probably should wait. And so you go through that day, and then at the end of the day, when the day is all done, it's now 5 o'clock, and you're supposed to call him. You say, well, you know what? They probably just got home. He's got 2 kids. They're probably sitting down for dinner. And this just keeps going on, and then before we know it, the day is over. And that night, we get into bed, and we're thinking about what happened in that day, which we didn't take a step towards our goals, towards what we wanted out of life, towards the plans that we'd made the day before when we had all those positive thoughts and made the list. And then what happens is that same voice that had those great ideas starts chastising us for not doing what we should have done. We hear that little voice in the back of our head saying, well, what's wrong with you? Why the heck didn't you make those calls? I can't, how are you ever going to succeed if you don't do this stuff? It's beating you up now. And it's the exact same voice. But you know what happens is we never stop to, let me take a step back. It reminds me of a movie. This thought just popped into my head. It reminds me of this movie called Groundhog Day. I don't know how many of you ever saw that. It was about Phil the Weatherman, and Phil was played by Bill Murray, who was trapped living the same day over and over and over again. He was not living the day he desired to live. He kept being stuck in the day in which he dreaded over and over again. And literally, that's where I found myself. I was setting these objectives at night when I felt all positive, making these notes, and then when the next day came, I'd find reasons, or I'd get reasons not to do it. And in that process, it kept me from succeeding to the level of success that I wanted. And so for years, basically, I dreamed of this life that I was going to create. But when the morrow arrived, I followed the urging of that little voice all day as it kept me busy doing task after task after task, with almost none of it which was leading towards the actions I wanted to complete or leading me towards the goal I had laid out. And I think it's important for people to realize that what is happening there, and the fact that we do have those voices that talk to us. And you know what, when I really came to kind of understand what was going on, because I really did everything I possibly could, and I was thinking, how can I ever get through this? This is driving me crazy. I've got to be able to make these calls. I got to get these people involved in my business. And literally, if I don't take those action steps, it's not going to happen. And so I kept looking for the magic book, or the magic, back in those days, it was a tape, a magic tape or a magic book, or something that had the recipe that could get me out of that funk and get me moving in the right direction. But it was the same voice that was telling me to get a cup of coffee because it would give me a little more confidence before I'd make my calls. And it kept building up and building up. And and again, it was almost like, thinking as a comparable, because childhood stories are full of life lessons. And if you think back of The Wizard of Oz, for example, Dorothy, throughout that whole movie, always had the power to go back to Kansas. But she didn't go until she finally believed she could. And that's where it came for me. And so getting past that nagging little voice was the key. And I wrestled with it. I said, okay, so how do I get past it? And what I ultimately came down with was the idea that I needed to pay attention to what I really wanted to do. Because when I wrote something down that night before on the yellow tablet that I've used, of the calls I wanted to make, the people I needed to talk to, I wouldn't have written them down if I didn't want to do it. So I had to realize that, hey, that was something I wanted to do, so why am I listening to this voice that's talking me out of it? So the realization came to me that, is that voice really me talking to me? Am I hearing? Is that my thought, or is that just a thought? And it really was the story of the two wolves that snapped me out of that. And that had to be, for me, that was in the late 70s. I mean, I for whatever reason, I heard that story and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got those same two wolves inside of my head. And I had to realize that those two wolves are just two different opinions, if you will, and that my job was to separate the opinion from what I wanted to do. And that's what changed it for me. It was a huge transition initially, but I had to realize that I never would have thought about doing something if I didn't want to do it. In fact, whenever that little voice would lure me to the kitchen, I would say, I said I was going to make calls, not coffee. I'd say that to myself because I had to I had to fight back, if you will, against that voice that was talking to me. And time after time, I discovered that when I did make the calls, people were friendly and often extremely helpful, open when I was open to it. And I also learned that when I had the urge to call a particular person, there was a reason for that urge to call them. And if I didn't exercise and make that action step of calling that person, their attitude would change. In other words, if I had on my list to call Martha, and I put it off for 2 days, when I called Martha, I usually didn't get a good response. But whenever I got an idea that came to me about making a particular call, and I made that call, I got a great response. So there was a kind of another realization in that process that when that idea comes to you, you absolutely have to act on it the moment it comes. Because if you delay, you're delaying. You know, we all know we're made up of cells, and those cells are intelligence. And everything in the world is basically from intelligence of some form. Every seed, I mean, when you plant a seed of corn, it doesn't pop up a rose bush. It pops up corn. There's intelligence in that seed that tells it what to be. So that there's a way for you to basically channel into this intelligence. And I can't explain how that all happens, but I can tell you that when that idea comes, it's critical that you act upon it. So you have to learn, in effect, to stop obeying that sneaky little voice that tries to give you ideas to do something that is not taking you in the direction that you planned for your day. Because it's a battle one day at a time. It starts every morning. And another thing that I found that was very successful for me is when I was nervous about making a call to someone, maybe someone I thought was more successful, or someone that was already has already made a lot of money, and here I'm going to call them about some opportunity to make a bunch of money. So I felt a little inferior, if you will, at the time. What I found is that I would call somebody else first that I knew, and that I would have a short 3 or 4 minute conversation with, and the instant I would hang up, I would just dial the number of that next person, not giving myself a chance to think about it and come up with the reasons why it wasn't going to work. And when I did that, I found, hey, this is not so difficult after all. That little voice that's been talking me out of it, it was like that little voice was plotting against me as opposed to being there to help me. And I know it also reminds me of if you all remember the movie Animal House, there was a scene in there where, I'm not going to talk about what the content was at that time, but there was a devil on the one guy's shoulder and an angel on the other side, and they were both battling. It's the same kind of thing. You've got this one that really wants to direct you towards your goals and towards your dreams, but what we all let happen is we let that other one talk us out of some of those steps that are necessary to get there. And when you notice most of the things going around you in life, and remember the statistics, you've heard me say this before on this call, 95 out of 100 people in life are not successful by the time they're 65 years old. Five out of 100 is the exact number. And those are actuarial statistics that insurance companies come up with. If you took 100 people at the age of 25, by the time they're 65, 5 have made it. What happened to the rest? Well, 5 are still working, 36 have died, 54 are stone broke. Depending upon, I don't know what you have in Australia, but here it's Social Security, but right now it's probably social insecurity. It's such trouble that it's in. But the reason people are there is because those voices have talked them out of it. It's not that people don't want to succeed. They come out of school, whether it's high school or college, and they're going into the workforce of their choice in the beginning. They want to succeed, but why is it they don't? They don't because those voices, you have them, I have them, everybody has them. And what I want you to really understand here is that if you don't come up with a solid way of dealing with those two voices that go on inside of your head, it's going to put you in the same position at 65 that you don't want to be. You have to take the action steps, because if you fail to concentrate on what's really going on in those things, and you mindlessly obey that false self, if you will feel very little in very little control of your life and of what's going on, and your business will be frustrating to you because you're not moving along. And I think the average person in this industry, if you sat down and you asked yourself, how many calls did you make to new prospects in the last 10 days? I know this webinar, Zoominar that Bart and Melissa have started is all about the 90-day burst. But during those 90 days and the time you allotted each day, did you make the calls that you should have made each and every day, every time? Can you honestly say that you did that? Because if you didn't, I can tell you why. You listened to the wrong voice. That voice got you to do something else that you felt was important at the time. Maybe it was to take the laundry down to the dry cleaners, or I got to get to the grocery store to pick up groceries, or I need to get down to something and pay the bill at the television, your cable or whatever you have in Australia. Those are the things that keep us from succeeding. It's not out there. And what happened for me is I didn't get through that problem until I realized I would never find the answer out there. The answer was here, within. I needed to make the journey within and not search for that answer outside of me, because the answer is within you. The answer that you need for your success is within you. You don't need another book. I mean, what book is reading another book? How much courage is that going to give you? Reading another book, is there a secret there that you don't already know? I mean, this is too simple. You have to just step up and take the action step that you know you need to take. And when that voice tries to talk you out of it, you have to get mad. And you have to let it know you're not. You listen to it, but you don't need to obey it, because we can't stop the thoughts. They're gonna come, but you don't need to obey those thoughts. And believe me, if you start paying attention to what goes on inside your head each day when you get up, you will notice that bad wolf, if you will, or that false self, whatever you'd like to call it, the devil, whatever you'd like to call it. You're going to know that sucker is talking to you, and it's giving you ideas that's going to take you in a different direction that you wanted to go for that day. If you have to stop it and just say, well, I don't really like that idea, because I need to stay focused on the calls I need to make. Because when you make a call, two things happens for you. One is you get better at making calls, because you do more of them and it gets easier to make them. So you get better. And that's where the success is going to come from. It's not going to come from reading another book or listening to somebody like me talking about some way to build your business. There's hundreds of gurus out there in the world of network marketing that have all kinds of great ideas about how to build a business. Many of those people aren't building a networking company, but they've got the ideas, and we listen to them. But does that mean we need to follow everything? Because if you'll stay focused on who you are, because you have the courage, you just have to listen to the other voice and remember what you wanted when you wrote those things down on your list. You wanted to make those calls. So don't let anything talk you out of those calls. Make them. Sometimes you're going to get a voicemail. Sometimes you're going to reach them. But you will succeed because you are doing the steps that you wanted to do. So at the end of the day, you will feel good about yourself. You will feel confident about yourself. You will feel confident you made your calls today. Let's say you had 6 calls scheduled. You dialed all 6, and 3 of them you had to leave a voicemail, and 1 of them didn't even have a voicemail turned on, but you reached one. You can, internally, that's what's going to raise your confidence level. It's not going to be something that you can read in a book or that you hear from someone else. It's going to come from the action steps you take. And if you don't take the action step, just remember, every day we don't do what we wanted to do. We're one day closer to never having the end result we want to have. We're pushing it out another day further and another day further. And if we do that each and every day, our goal, our objective in life, the thing that we really want more than anything else, whether it's to take care of our family or to buy or build that custom home we want, or whatever it is, if we don't do it every single day, we'll never have that custom home. We'll never be able to take care of the family. We will never have the money set aside for our retirement years or our golden years or whatever you'd like to call them. It just won't happen. We will be one of the 95 people out of 100 that don't succeed. And again, it is not about what you don't know. It's all about what you don't do. You need to do exactly what you thought you wanted to do when you wrote it down on your list. And you will get the big part of that. It's very powerful thinking when you can do that. You get focused, and when you get focused, where your focus goes, your energy will flow. And that really makes a tremendous difference. Your passion will be higher. Your desire to succeed will be higher because you will feel that you're getting closer to your objective. And then you'll be able to see it in your mind's eye. And that's when life changes. It won't change ahead of that. So if you've been struggling at all in this business and you've been listening to that bad wolf or the devil or whatever you want to call that, your false self, just remember, next time it's talking to you, if it's taking you away from what you have on your list, tell it you don't have time for that action. You'll do it when you get done with your list. And then you will make the call when you think that person is going to lunch, or you'll think it's their dinner time, or whatever else. You'll make it anyway, because you can simply ask, did I catch you at a good time? And if they say no, what would be a good time for me to get back to you? When you do that, your confidence level will skyrocket. Your success will go up. The number of enrollments you get will go up. Everything will be better for you. So hopefully that all makes sense. The telephone gets real heavy for some people every morning the day after they write that list. I'm trying to make that a light thing for you so that you have no fear in picking it up. And remember that one little tip I said too. If you do have fear in picking up your phone, at the top of your list, put that one person in your team, your upline, whatever, that you can call. Don't call and just chit chat for 5 minutes. Call and talk about your business, and the moment you hang up, dial the first one on your list. And you're going to find the second one is easier to call, the third one gets even easier, the fourth one's even easier. And before you know it, you're done. And then you did it for today. Make your list for tonight, for tomorrow, and do the same thing. After you've done that for 21 straight days, you've created a new habit for yourself, and you will never have those problems that you've had all these years, and all that haunting stuff and all that berating of yourself every night when you go to bed for not doing what you know you should have done. That'll all go away, and your life will never be the same. So hopefully that all makes sense. I know it's not an easy topic to grasp, but at the same time, it's a very important one for you to understand. And I hope it makes a difference for everybody that's on the call and those who listen to this as a recording at a later date. So God bless you all.
How did you know the way my mind thinks, John?
You know, that's a great point right there too. And that's why, I've said a lot of times in the Saturday calls, put yourself in your prospect's shoes before you talk to them. Assuming you know their circumstances. And that's why we ask questions, so we can know their circumstances, so we can put ourselves in their shoes and say, what would I do? Because if you can do that, you can anticipate what they would do, and that saves you a whole lot of headache, and it gives you a way of approaching the person that you might not have approached had you not thought of that first. Good point, Bart.
Yeah, we all have those demons that are rattling around in our head. Procrastination is one of the things that I have to fight. Exactly what you're describing, of those excuses and, I got to do this or I've got to do that. And then the berating at the end of the day that, I should have done this. so blocking out your time and just getting out. I love your comment about, find someone that's easy to connect with, someone that you can have confidence to help you to kind of get into that mode. Maybe making a list of those people that you want to call, and then blocking out the time and just doing it. Don't let the excuses jump in.
Yeah, for the people that are, I don't know how many people in your group are Christian type people, but in the Bible, the book of Ephesians is all about this topic. It's about the battle that goes on in your head, not some battle that goes on out there. And biblically, it talks about putting on the armor of God, right? And that's not for some battle out there. It's the one that's going on in between our ears. So it literally is something that everybody can use the help on if they'll just step into it. And again, don't necessarily obey. Don't go to the store to pick up the milk when you know you need to make that call. Make the call, then go get the milk. Just do the things that you know you need to do, and don't let that voice tell you that there's something that should be done, because there'll be time to get it done.
Yeah.
No wonder you're a legend in this industry, John. Thank you so much. Oh, you didn't hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, because I truly believe that every single one of us on this webinar can relate to what you have to say, because we're human beings and we are our own worst enemy most of the time. So thank you very, very much. You're amazing, and I wish I could carry you around with me every day.
Well, it's not network marketing stuff. It's just human nature stuff that is so important to be a good network marketer, because it goes right along with what we were just saying with Bart. When you understand a person because you've had questions from them, then you know what you would do in their circumstance. And that gives you a leg up on somebody else who just throws a pitch at somebody.
Absolutely. And when you were here in Park City and we broke the arrow with our neck and we walked on glass, you can't get up to the glass and you can't get up to the arrow and hesitate. You can't decide that you can't feed the bad wolf in that experience. You've got to choose the good wolf. You've got to choose to move forward. Otherwise, that experience can be quite painful. So those experiences in our lives, and I'm sure you don't have to walk on glass or break an arrow with your neck to experience the same results, but to look back on what we've done that has been really successful and our thinking at the time, and no, we just pushed through it. We didn't think, we just did. So we acted. So thank you. I think
Do you have your card? This is my card from there that we were given about writing down. So it's staying with me. I wrote it down the way he asked us to write down. By the way, walking on glass was a piece of cake after that arrow.
Yes.
It says, the impossible is possible. I walked on broken glass. I can accomplish anything I desire. Right? I mean, and I've always said the person who attempts the impossible has little competition.
At the end of the day, it's the stories that we tell ourselves it's what holds us back, and we get to write that story. And I know we had a little exercise on that too. So just really, that's right. So it really is. We got to be the author of our stories, and not let our mind wander off in excuses and fear, because it really is fear. But if we write that story out and tell ourselves that story every day when we wake up, that can make such a big difference.
Yeah, Bart, be sure you get an opportunity to share those definitions he gave us with fear, and then the cross definition of what the dictionary says, where you go back between the two and you figure out the dictionary doesn't even know what fear is.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
It's pretty, fear is, it takes just as much just as much energy to have fear about something as it does to have faith about something. Same amount of energy. So it's a matter of choosing faith over fear most of the time. And that way, we only have to be right 51% of the time to have everything in life we want. So you just have to keep doing it and do your best to be your best. And don't let anything stop you from being who you're capable of becoming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John. We must have been on the same page. I must have picked up on your thoughts because I've prepared a very short PowerPoint presentation on the topic that you've been talking about. So I'm going to quickly run through that, and then at the end we'll do some recognition, get some feedback, and we'll call it a day. But I'll just bring that up on the screen here. And it's interesting because the title is Doing What's Important, What's Urgent as opposed to what's important. So it's a matter of looking at where you're spending the majority of your time. So this article really struck a chord with me. It's from somebody associated with Anthony Robbins' group, but I have modified it significantly. So you'll see what John has been talking about all the way through. So I'm sure you can relate to this. Everyone can relate to this. It can be a lady on her phone with the gentleman at the table. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of deciphering between what's urgent in our lives and what's really important. So as John was mentioning, say the next 10 years of your life, you're going to spend the next 10 years doing something. And too often that something is responding to what is urgent instead of pursuing what's important. And Goethe is known to say, things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter the least. So too often the need to make money, which is urgent, wins over the desire to build something you're proud of, which is important, which is a business for many of you on this webinar. And too often the urge to find a way to lose, say, 9 kilos in 6 weeks, which is urgent, wins out over becoming the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, which is important, which is, I know Stevie Aquilina, he'll get 2 hours sleep and he'll still be at that gym. Too often the craving to be noticed or appreciated, which is urgent, wins out over the ability to be present with people and satisfied on where, in life in general, or with who you are. We all need money, and yes, there's times when the world requires us to put important things on hold so that we can get the rest of our crazy lives under control. And handling responsibilities is part of life, but how long will you delay what's important to you just so that you can handle the next urgent thing in front of you? How long will you put off what you're capable of doing just to maintain what you're currently doing? Will you wait a year, 5 years, or for some people, they wait their whole life? Like John was saying, the statistics of 65-year-olds who have made it. Too often we live our lives based on what is urgent for us and not what's important. It's dangerously easy to spend years constantly chasing the next urgent thing and never setting aside time to do what we need to do. So how do we overcome the urgency of everyday life? So we need to choose a clear direction for ourselves. And when you have the courage to say, this is important to me and I'm going after it, you don't fall into the trap of living the life that other people expect you to live, which is quite a common experience, I'm sure you'd agree, with most human beings. They live a life that other people expect them to live until they get into network marketing, and then they hear about what other people think they shouldn't be doing. So we all have urgent tasks each day, a phone call we have to take, an email we need to respond to, a sick friend we need to help. But having a clear purpose and a specific goal allows you to get right back to what's important after you respond to those everyday emergencies. So a specific goal gives you directions and prevents you from being sucked into a whirlwind of time-consuming, unimportant tasks. A specific goal is different to a desire, and that's crucial to understand the difference. So wanting to get into shape is a desire. Doing 100 push-ups in a row is a specific goal. Wanting to start your own and see a business is a desire. Showing 3 people how to achieve the rank of Director 700 is a specific goal. Wanting to write a book is a desire, and finishing the first chapter is definitely a specific goal. So nothing worth working for will ever seem urgent. That's the nature of important goals. They don't demand attention right now. They require a sense of purpose, a clear direction and consistency over the long haul. So stop letting the seeds of greatness slip through your fingers. Abandon the frantic rush towards mediocre and start the march toward greatness. So this was a cartoon I pulled off the internet. I died and all I got was this lousy epitaph. So pick one thing that's important to you and set a specific goal for yourself and get started today. Never leave your dreams unfulfilled, because at the end of the day, what's going to be written on your epitaph? It's good to write out what you think will be on your epitaph and strive toward that as part of your purpose in life, because we're all here to make a difference. So let's look at a desire. Let's say complete the 90-day burst rank, advancing to bronze and above. So we know on the right-hand column, there are certain action steps that we actually need to take. We need to commit to X number of hours per week. We need to ring those people on the names list. We can't feed the negative, the bad wolf when it comes to the goals required to fulfill a 90-day burst. We need to commit to giving 30 presentations on 30 days and do it. This list, when it comes to goals, it's good to write it down, obviously. And some people will procrastinate, like John's saying, write it down and then not pick up the phone and make those calls. So it's a matter of following through, obviously, with the action steps and not listening to the stories we tell ourselves. Maybe a desire is to bring guests to the next to see your event. You need to telephone 20 people to get a minimum to show up and pick them up if you need to. Perhaps it's attending the convention in Salt Lake City next year. So book your convention tickets. Say to yourself, within the next 24 hours it's booked and so's my accommodation. Lock in a commitment with your team to purchase the tickets too, and help them to find out how to do it if need be. And then maybe part of that is to put $100 aside per week or whatever you can do to help fund your trip. So maybe going triple diamond over the next 3 years. You can write up a 3-year plan with your sponsor, meet with them, model successful leaders, and schedule however many hours a day that you're going to commit to making that happen. So perhaps figuring out what matters the most. What matters most matters most. So there's a lot of things, like John had mentioned. For some people in their lives, it's God, then family, then work. For some, that order's different. So in terms of what matters the most, what helps to get our stories straight, and at least what I've found helps me, is to know what your ASEA why is. So have you written it out? Are you reading it out loud regularly and visualizing its outcome? Your why absolutely needs to move you emotionally, or you're really not going to manifest it. It has to be something that you have emotionally bought into, that you fully believe in. And do you need to add to it? If you go revisit it or rewrite it, is it actually worthy of you, or has it changed? Has your why deepened given your time that you've been involved with ASEA? And are you making it the reason that motivates you to take action? So before you pick up the phone, before you go to a meeting, maybe you're tired going to a meeting and you think to yourself, oh, I don't really want to go. It's easy to stay home and watch my favourite program on TV. Reading out your why, having it close and making it real in your life, that's going to be the motivation to help take the next step. So maybe there's 5 simple questions that can help you stay focused on what matters. Ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my ASEA why? And if not, why not? Am I being grateful for what I already have in my ASEA business and excited about the people who will come? Am I being the messenger and not the message? Am I making my business about me? We know with this business model, if you make it about you, you can't reach the top. What am I doing today to be the triple diamond that I am? But I know you used to ask that question in your previous network marketing company, and that drove you every day. So I'll get back to that in just a minute. Or am I doing whatever it takes to make what matters happen? So we've seen this before, many of you on this webinar. At the end of the day, it's people that matter the most. And that's spoken in the words of Tyler Norton, because really that's what it's about. It's knowing that the person you're too scared to call or reluctant to call, it's a matter of knowing that they matter and the people that they know matter. It doesn't matter the outcome, because we're being the message, the messenger, not the message. So that dovetails in a little bit with what you were talking about there, John, and I wanted to open it up to the panel for a few minutes and see if you had any comments or anything you wanted to share very briefly on today's topic. Gee, it's all quiet now. John.
Hey, I'll jump in on something here. You know, that comment that you said, that was a mantra, the stories that we tell ourselves. If you ask yourself, what am I doing today to be the triple diamond that I am? The one thing it does is, I believe it's something that can really help to fight those demons that John was talking about, because you're literally putting yourself in a state where you've got to lead by example. So you're saying, you know, these demons, these voices I've got in my head, I need to tackle these voices, because the better I am at tackling them, the better I'm going to be at helping my downline to do the same. I need to lead by example. So if you put yourself in that role as a mindset, you're leading from a higher place. You're putting yourself in more responsible place to take the action steps that you need to. So it's a little trick, if you will, to just address the stories that you want to tell yourself and to help move yourself into a better space, a better direction.
I'll make a comment. Chris Howell and I have been out this week door knocking. Now, it's not the ideal way to do things. It's very slow, very laborious, very confronting. But we sat down last week and said, what's the worst thing that we could do to enhance the business? And we went through the phone calls and referrals and contacted people and whatever. And we came up with cold calls that were the most confronting and the hardest thing to get over. So what we did, we set a target. We got 20 people on a list in our local area to cold call on. The first day we only managed 14, but the referrals that we got from the 14 and the appointments that we made from the cold call kept us going for the next 2 days, which was Thursday and Friday. And our feeling is that if you take that extra step and do something which is really, really difficult and confronting, when it comes to making phone calls or when it comes to, as John was saying, having the ability to say, what's the alternative? This is a lot better than having to knock on doors. And so that's our experiment for the next, well, until now, between now and Christmas. We're going to make it so hard for ourselves that the easy things that people tell us to do are going to seem very, very easy. So that's, it's punishment before pleasure.
I don't know what to say about that, John.
I don't say it's not punishment. It's growth. It's, when you lift weight, like I go to the gym 3 days a week, start Mondays, Wednesdays, Friday mornings. And today was arms, shoulders, and back day. And every time as you're lifting weights, you're basically tearing muscle. And then that muscle forms and grows and gets bigger. And it's the same thing you're doing. You're exercising that mental muscle of doing something that wasn't very attractive for you to do. But soon you won't have to do that because you will draw enough from your business and your confidence level, you'll feel like you can do anything. And knowing you, John, I think you probably already feel you can do anything.
Well, the referrals that we got from it, the number of people that we now have to contact is going to break into next week's plans of door knocking, because we're going to have so many people to contact that we're going to have to cut back on our door knocking, which is a great thing. And Chris, both Chris and I, for those that don't know Chris, Chris and I are both wrinklies, and it appears a bit harder for people that are dragged back into doing something that they know they should be doing anyway, but keep putting it off. The excuses that you gave before, John, it's a classic. I pick Chris up in the car, and instead of going to the first call, we go for a coffee, and then we make a list, and then we check the list off, and then we do this, and then we say, well, bye. Oh, gee, what time is it? We best go to lunch. Before you know where you are, the day's gone. So what we do now is 9 o'clock in the morning, we hit the first appointment at 9:05, and we just abandoned the car and just walked, because I'd set them out in such a way that they were all in the same area. And we walked right through till 2 o'clock in the afternoon before we got back to the car. And then we booked 2 appointments in, one at 3:30 and one at 4 o'clock. And they were right opposite each other. We knew the one at 3:30 was going to be a reappoint because the guy it was the wrong time of the day for him. So it was just a matter of facing up and reappointing it. But we knew the 4 o'clock was going to be good. And I believe some really good business will come from that 4 o'clock appointment.
Good on you for doing whatever it takes, John.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you so very much, John, for your input. And when it comes to my comment, my presentation, the main part of it was just to know that revisit your why. That's definitely an integral and foundational aspect of this 90-day push. And if you have gotten this far through the 90-day push and you haven't been reading that, I'll encourage you this week to have it with you, rewrite it if you need to, but make that the reason that motivates you not to listen to or feed the bad wolf. So thank you so much for all your comments, particularly a huge thank you to you again, John. And I'm going to move on to quick recognition from last week. And we have Dan, as you know, is in Florida. He's been working with a group of people there, and so amazing results have been coming out of Florida. Sandra Reed, who he's been working with, she has gone platinum, which is very exciting for Sandy. Yeah, really huge. Definitely. And then Mauricio Munoz, he went silver. Congratulations, Maurizio. And Apple a Day went bronze. So I still don't know who Apple a Day are, but when I get their name, I'll be sure to share it with you. So that's the executive rank advancements from last week. Now we'll move to Director 700. There's Suzanne Rosiardi, Shane Markham. We have Kayleen O'Connor, Antonio Cancellieri. You can tell I'm in the States because I say O'Connor instead of O'Connor. And now Director 300s. So we have Renee Ross, Anna Harpley. We have Richard Salisbury. We have David Montiel, Maria Polaris. We have Standard Capital Management, or SCM, Deborah Redalia, Carol Hawkins and Richard Barron, Helen Snape and Joy Lockwood. So congratulations to all of the Director 300 ranks. That's absolutely phenomenal results. And rank advancements in terms of special recognition, Apple a Day came in at number 10 for top associate enrollers, and as you would expect, number one emerging leader globally was Sandy Reed out of Florida. So congratulations to those two. Hope I haven't missed anybody else, but we're really excited about what you're creating out there in the field. We've got 3 minutes, so a couple of quick comments from anyone on the panel if you'd like to throw your 2 bobs worth in before I let you know about upcoming events. So anyone like to say anything before we wrap up? We've got a live Stevie Aquilina. That doesn't happen very often.
See if everybody can push for our visit from our triple ambassador diamonds that are coming out.
Yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, huge, massive. So as far as doing what John has suggested, what we've covered on today's Teach Day call, pick the phone up and ring people. Go pick them up if you need to, but get them there, because the reality is, as John has sort of alluded to the topic, this is the last huge activity or event toward the end of the year. The people we get at this event in 12 months' time and beyond, should those people join us in our business, and or in terms of life-changing health results they'll get from the products, this will set us up for success over the next 12 months and beyond, this one event. So I'd be ashamed to be there and say, oh, I wished I had have told X, Y, and Z. Just call them. You owe it to yourself, to the product, and to them. So make people matter the most and do it. So thanks, John.
Mal Sword always says that for every person you bring to a corporate presentation like that, it's worth $1,000 in commission over the next year.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Hey, speaking of corporate event, I need to add on to this. We've been promoting this as Trish and Bob Schwenkler. They now, by the way, are presidential diamonds, so they're the highest pin rank and the highest income earners in ASEA. But the important thing is that this event has been expanded out. We've got Justin Wilson, the Vice President of Global Sales, is coming out for this event, as well as Kim will be joining him as well. So she's our Australia representative from corporate. So this is not just a Bob and Trish event. This is, in fact, a corporate event. We want to promote it big. I guarantee no matter how many people you have there, you're going to wish you had more, because this is the event that's going to propel the success. People make big decisions at big events, and to have a presidential diamond from all the way over from the U.S. to share her experience and expertise is something you don't want to miss out on. So let's promote it big. I would recommend Mal's advice. I totally agree with it. Is to get 3 to 5 tickets and then fill those tickets with real people, and then go get 3 to 5 more, and that way you've got kind of a target to put people's names on those tickets.
And thanks, Bart. Thanks, John. And the dates are on all of the webinars I send out. That has the link for Trish and Bob and Justin and Kim's visit as well. Quick reminder, no 90-day burst webinar next week. I was planning, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, to get the diamonds on, but it'll be pretty late, so with the time zone change. So we'll do it the week after, and I've actually added 2 more weeks into this 90-day burst, so that'll make up for it. There's only 3 weeks left, as I mentioned, so make the most of the time that we have left. Bring your team, make sure they're on these webinars. I'll get the recording out. We haven't always had Wi-Fi over here with the travel plans that we've been doing. I've just been to New York for 4 days, which was a blast, but not a lot of time to download these webinars and get it out. So thanks for your patience until I do get them out to everybody. But no doubt you're thinking of people on this webinar who you would have loved to have been on to listen to John. So make sure you bring your team to the rest of these webinars, because we don't start the circuit again until March of next year. So quote for the week: nobody grows old merely by living a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals. And that's from Samuel Ullman. So unless you've got anything else to add, thank you so much to all the participants, definitely all the panelists. And thank you, John. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And we'll be back in the States. Hi, Brent. Brent Unjim. This is his face. He's not often on the video. Bart, did you want to introduce Brent?
Sure. Brent Unjim is a silver level associate over here in Logan, Utah. And yeah.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Working over here.
And he's the very first person you called when you got engaged with a CSO.
That's right.
So on the line, a lot of you, this is your dad, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and your great-great-great. This is Brent. So, yeah, we're happy to have you on.
I'm absolutely 100% sure that this would not be something she would do. 100% sure.
Oh, Elizabeth, you've got your, I'm just going to mute you. You're on the phone. Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a great few weeks, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bart and I'll be back in the country on the 4th of November. Bye, everyone. And David Silverman's doing the next 90-day burst on the 5th. See everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Mel.